This week's Piltch Point with Avram Piltch is proudly powered by PureVPN. The best way to protect your privacy online is with PureVPN. You can hide your online activities, say goodbye to regional restrictions, and improve your streaming quality. Plus, it's available for almost all of your devices, and you can get a special price and a 31-day money-back guarantee, all by going to piltchpoint.live/PureVPN. So you gave us a little preview a moment ago about what it is we're going to get to see. So what is it we're about to see?
So wanted to talk a little bit about some of the cool stuff that you could be doing with your vacation time that you might have over the next few weeks. I'm hoping to have a few days off this month, and what I'll do with that time, which is what I do at the time when I'm not working, is working when I can, is working with my son on some really cool Raspberry Pi projects and robot projects. And, there's obviously a lot of neat kits out there. And I have this one here that I wanted to show briefly. This right here is so this is a Raspberry Pi that you may have seen me show many times before, a Raspberry Pi 4, but this on top of it is what is called a BrainCraft HAT, which is from Adafruit, a fantastic company that makes all kinds of electronics kits. They manufacture them right here in New York City and develop them. And this BrainCraft HAT was developed with the input of people from Google's machine learning group. They asked, what would you want if you were trying to, have some things to, help you develop AI applications. So the hat has a few things on it that you can do. And as you may know, a hat is a add-on board that you put on top of the Raspberry Pi. So here you can see that the Raspberry Pi is under it, and then the hat attaches to the 40 GPIO pins on the Raspberry Pi. Anyway, this hat is $40, and you can get it from Adafruit, ADAFRUIT.com. It has here this 1.6-inch screen that you can use for displaying things that the AI sees. It has these 3 RGB lights over here that you can program to do things. It has below the lights, it's all backward to me. Below the lights, it has a joystick and a button that you can use. It has built-in microphones for doing voice recognition. It does not have built-in speakers. Instead, it has a stereo outputs that you can attach these cheap 2-pin speakers to. So I bought these speakers separately. They were $8 for 2. They use a 2-pin, I guess it's called JST connector. So what can you do with this? Well, obviously you can program all kinds of things to work with it, but there's some really wonderful tutorials to get you started. So one that I have that I want to show you is for doing image recognition. And this is really just kind of a sample of image recognition because this is using a preset library of a few thousand objects. So you can train it. So it's going to start saying BrainCraft, and I'm going to turn it. I think the right way to turn it is this.
Monitor.
Oh, so it tells you what it sees. And here's a camera.
That was quick.
Monitor.
It says monitor. Let's see what it says when it looks at me. Nothing.
Oh,
You can see the FPS in the corner, perhaps.
it had it for a second. It was coming up with something for a
If I
second.
put it at
Window shade.
this window shade when I show it my shades, that's actually correct. What other things can I show it on my desk? How about a speaker? So, the wire. I have to admit, it could have more. It has gotten confused in funny ways. Like, for example, there's like a little window behind me, and Sometimes it'll say seatbelt when it sees it, which is just bizarre. Let's see if I can make it do it. Come on, seatbelt. It's not exactly an advertisement for using it to get stuff wrong. But I guess real meta would be to make it look at itself. What does it see if it looks at itself? Sunglasses. Sunglasses. It thinks it's sunglasses. So you got to retrain. I mean, that's kind of funny.
Your laptop.
Oh, it says it detected a laptop. The funny thing is, it's not
Laptop.
It's not pointed at my laptop, but it shows that on the screen. There are instructions online for actually how to train it with a different model.
Okay.
For those who don't know machine learning, model is the term that you use to describe what the sort of universe of objects that it can recognize is. So, if you train it better, it will be better at recognizing things like, you can train it to recognize faces, you can train it to recognize a particular person's face, you can train it to recognize objects that it does not yet know about now, and apparently Google has a cloud-based service that allows you to actually do some of the training in the cloud, because doing the training part can be very processor intensive, more so than a Raspberry Pi you would want a Raspberry Pi to do. The other thing I wanted to show you on this was voice recognition, which it also does. So one thing you can do is, one thing I can do is, I'm going to type everything at the command line. So I installed Google Assistant in here, and it won't show anything interesting on the screen right now, but you see the lights have lit up red. Now this is an interesting implementation of Google Assistant.
Does that mean it's become self-aware?
What it is it doesn't listen to you unless you press the button. So what time is it?
9:54 p.m.
See, so this is not, the way it's programmed right now is not to always listen. It's just to listen when you hit the button.
Gotcha. Which is your ideal scenario.
Which is better for me, but I'm sure you could program it different. I mean, obviously, if you really wanted a Google Assistant, you could buy a Google Smart Speaker for $25 or $30. So you wouldn't buy this just to use it as a regular Google Assistant, because the Raspberry Pi itself costs at least $35, and the hat is $40, and then you have to get some kind of speakers for it, like I did that for $8. So you're talking about, do the math on that, $83 to get what's probably not as good a smart speaker as the ones you get from Google. So the point is that you're using this to develop your own speech recognition, your own object recognition, to help prototype things. And when you've kind of figured out what you want it to do, you don't need the hat on to do these things. Like, the hat is there to help you, because it gives you an easy screen and a speaker and a microphone, but you could take any of the code that you've written for this and put it on a different Raspberry Pi, or take the hat off and put the hat on somewhere else. It's really to help you test and figure out, okay, how is this voice recognition working? What do I need to do to make it go? How is this object recognition working? And then obviously the next step is you want to apply that to something useful, not just recognizing objects and telling you what they are, but perhaps taking some other kind of action based on it. For example, and this is an example of AI, not of this AI, not of this. Oh, by the way, for those who follow AI stuff, that program is written with TensorFlow Lite, which is Google's framework for doing machine learning. But the there's really cool things you can do with it to actually make, like, let's say you were building a robot and you wanted the robot to do something. So I had a guest on my show, my podcast show that I do every week that is all about Raspberry Pi a couple of weeks ago, and he was showing off that he made a tic-tac-toe playing robot. And it uses a camera with AI it has a pen on an arm, and when it sees you draw an X or an O, it knows it's time for it to move and draw in one of the other spaces and try to beat you. That's an example of using object recognition.
That's pretty cool.
The same guy who did this, he's really fascinating. I got to tell you, if you go to YouTube and you search for 3D printed life, one word, you'll find his channel. And wow, I mean, he has a few really cool projects. Another one he made is a sandwich crust cutter. And with AI, it's like a giant enclosed box, almost like a 3D printer. And you put a sandwich in, it knows where the crust is, and it takes a knife, which is on like a conveyor, and it cuts the crust off.
Oh, amazing.
Another project he did using AI and Raspberry Pi was object recognition, specifically in Raspberry Pi. It was a Nerf gun that follows a target, follows a target around and shoots Nerfs at it. So these are the types of things you can do once you learn how to take what you're getting when it's recognizing that image and then take that data and apply it. Oh, I see there's an X or an O. What do I do next? So that's where the real fun of machine learning and artificial intelligence comes in, when you can take the data and do something with it, make it follow an object, make it do something different depending on what a person says, or what a person does, or what color it sees. So, I mean, that's what the fun is. I mean, some of the things that I'm learning to do with this, I can't wait, because I can say this because my son isn't listening, but like for the holidays, we got a couple of robot kits for he and I to build, a couple of Raspberry Pi robot kits to build. One that's a tank and one that's a car, and both of them have cameras on them and can do image recognition.
Nice.
So do object recognition. So we're gonna do it.
That's cool.
We're gonna once we get the car part of it working, we'll try to train it to do things like follow a ball, or maybe if it sees. Maybe we'll see if it sees a thumbs up, maybe it'll go forward, and if it sees this way, maybe it'll go that way. And, we'll try to figure out ways to kind of control it using images. So
I am fascinated by the Nerf gun implementation for a couple of reasons. The chiefest being that I produced a video for Softworks in Tampa that had done a project. They were doing like a demo of a smart safe house, because Softworks is part of SOCOM, the Central Command, and they were prototyping a smart safe house, and they took the Nerf turret, which is not something I knew existed before this video, and I so badly want one. And they had, using TensorFlow, they had trained the model specifically to look for a particular model of rifle that's used a lot by insurgents like ISIS, but is never used by our allies. And so whenever it saw that particular rifle, it would fire the Nerf turret. So, a very similar concept following a target. The target is a very specifically trained target in this particular case. And I walked through it with nothing. I walked through it with several rifles that are US issue, nothing. I walked through it with this particular Russian rifle, and I got shot a lot, and boy does that nerve turret hurt. It doesn't seem like it should, but it does, especially when it gets you right in the chest. But oh god, it hurt. Anyway, but yeah, so that's an interesting implementation because I got to see something similar to that the military's been working on. So this kind of technology, the image recognition stuff is interesting at all kinds of levels, from being able to have a robot, I don't know, a robot car follow a hamster, which I think would be kind of fun, or military applications. There's all kinds of places where this is interesting. So
yeah. So if you want to get started with this technology, this particular hat, obviously you get a Raspberry Pi 2 if you don't have one, and you want a Raspberry Pi 4. Any Model 4 should do this as a 1 gigabyte. Oh, they recommend at least the 2. You can get this from Adafruit, ADAFRUIT.com, and it is called the BrainCraft HAT. But it is really just one of many cool things that you can play with in your spare time, and I just love to experiment and learn using these tools.
for sure. Do you think that if you had the 2 gig model, it wouldn't have thought you were wearing sunglasses?
I did. Nah,
I'm just
you
messing around.
wouldn't be able to do it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's always funny when you get it. Like, they're not the only ones. Like, I've tried so many different AI object recognition demo things over the last couple of years, including ones on the Jetson Nanos that I think I've shown someone on this show.
Yeah.
And like invariably, the object recognition always does something funny, and it's kind of a funny parlor game to see what it thinks something is.
I did an IBM conference in 2015, and I had been doing some work with the Azure machine learning stuff, and so I knew what some of one of the pitfalls of it were. And they're like, here, pull up a web browser, find an image, put it in here, and it'll tell you what's in it. And I'm like, oh, I know what image it's not going to tell me. And so I went and I did a couple of searches, and I pulled up a couple of images, and the poor guys from Watson were like, how do you keep breaking this? Don't worry, I know how the technology works. I'm not just like finding random things. I know what I'm searching for because I know where the pitfalls are. But they were shocked because they're like, we get them wrong, 1 out of 200 or 300, and you've done 8 in a row. Yeah, I know. But yeah, machine learning and image recognition is a ton of fun to mess with, and so is audio recognition. Being able to listen for particular sounds around you and perform actions based on the sounds. That's fun too. Ooh, way harder to train though. Finding enough clips of DJI drone's motor sounds, for example, way harder than finding pictures of them.
Yeah, I can imagine. That is tough. But speech recognition actually not that tough.
Yeah.
I found an open library to do speech recognition that's not part of the assistant, and I was messing with it, but it was really slow. So like it would come out like a couple seconds after because it was not. I think this is probably going to the cloud for Google to do it, whereas the thing I was testing was doing it locally. But I mean, what my son and I would like to do is have something that just does. Forget the assistant, because like I said, you can get assistant anywhere. We want to write our own software to do stuff when we talk.
Yeah.
When we tell us to do something.
Yeah, that's a lot of fun. That's another thing where I've messed around with a number of APIs that are all cloud based to do it. But yeah, it's a ton of fun. It's so much fun to hear you talking about this stuff, because this was what our Microsoft meetups used to do, is exactly these types of projects. So it's fun. I miss all of those meetups. It's a shame that the world's a mess right now. Anyway, let's not end on a sour note there. Anyway, I imagine you've got one in your possession. You've got to be doing stuff with it.
Yeah, we have a review of it up on the site already, of the BrainCraft HAT on tomserver.com, so you can definitely check it out.
Nice. Well, I will definitely be checking that out, because it is technology that I'm fascinated by, and I look forward to seeing what's up with it. And as always, I look forward to what we talk about next. Hello YouTube, thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoyed this episode of The Piltch Point with Avram Piltch. If you did, please subscribe to our channel, and of course hit the notification bell, since subscriptions don't mean much on YouTube anymore. And if you've got topics you'd like us to discuss in the future, we'd love to hear from you in the comments below. If you don't want to follow us on YouTube, that's okay. There's a lot of other ways that you can follow our content. You can find all of that by going to PLUGHITZlive.com/subscribe. There you'll see all of our shows and all the different ways that you can watch, listen, and follow along.